I want to thank everybody who's here live. We are recording this. So thank you for joining today. And today I'm really excited. It's like a celebrity is here for me. Brittany Hodak, who is an award-winning author, speaker, and now educator with her masterclass 6 Weeks to Superfans is with us. And Brittany's been really impactful to our company, to me personally, and it's really kind of a blueprint on how you can take your existing clients and turn them into raving fans that will work with you for life and will refer you more business. So I love it. And Brittany, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I love your community and, I love hanging out with you. So every time we get a chance to do this, it's always fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, anytime. I'll try not to invite you too often because I'd love to do this with you, weekly. So first things first, I think most people that are watching know a bit about you, but some might know as much. Can you just kind of tell us who you are and what you do, what you've been up to with the speaking engagements, the master class, and obviously with the book? That's where everybody should start is with the book.
Yeah, well, thank you. I am someone who has always been an entrepreneur and became a speaker by accident. I worked in the music industry for most of my career. I had a company called the Superfan Company, where I was privileged to get to work alongside of some of the greatest entertainers and brands on the planet. Entertainers like Taylor Swift and Katy Perry and Dolly Parton and brands like Disney and Walmart and Amazon. And I was always obsessed with why do some people love the things they love, whether it's an artist or a brand or a partner helping them with something like finding a home? Like, what are those things that make us love some experiences and be indifferent or even apathetic to others? And so I started studying that. I started, if I'm being honest, obsessing over that and trying to find like what are the commonalities? What are the keys? How can we tap into this emotional connection and have more of it in our businesses? And that's what led to the book Creating Superfans. That's what led to the keynote speaking and the masterclass that you mentioned. And what honestly drives me every day to get people excited about the idea of obsessing over the customer experience. Because I promise if you obsess over customer experience, if you make yourself set the bar at not just the best home buying or home selling experience anybody can ever have, but how can I give them the best experience on par with a cruise or a, fancy restaurant or a hotel stay? Not only will they come back, but they will tell their friends. This is the fastest, best, most effective way to grow not just your sphere of influence, but your business. And I'm obsessed with helping people learn how to do it systematically.
Well, you're passionate and it definitely shows that you care deeply about this. I love this for a number of reasons. Whenever you're obsessed with customer experience, client experience, we call it, I call that our North Star. With every decision we make, we look at it and we say, is this best for the client? Is this going to help them, truly deliver? I'm sorry, is it going to help us truly deliver an amazing experience to that client? And what we're going to talk about today is our story. Like, and that's, I have a different story than every agent who's here, than every business owner out there. Can you talk to us a little bit about why starting with your story is so important?
Yes, because your story is your number one differentiator in a market like real estate that's so saturated where there are so many people. You have to immediately communicate not just your differentiating factors, but also the value it has. Why does it matter? I don't know if anybody in the history of the world has ever said, I would love to buy a home if only I could find a realtor to help me, right? Like everybody knows so many people who do this. And oftentimes, the people in our lives who know that we do real estate are the ones who also know 500 other things about us. So we've got to make them see us and think about us as that realtor, not just as like the person that they've known for 25 years who's showing houses now. Like we've got to get clarity on our story. We've got to be able to sell ourselves because we are the brand. And one of the things I say all the time is often people think they have an awareness problem. They need more eyeballs, they need to go viral, they need more people to pay attention to the marketing they're doing. But it's not an awareness problem at all. It's an apathy problem. Plenty of people know what you're doing. They just don't care. And your story is the only way to break. I like to say that superfans are created at the intersection of your story and every client's story. Until you can make what you do and why you're the best in the world relevant to their specific needs, they're just as likely to pick somebody else.
100%. And if this is your first exposure audience to creating superfans, Brittany has an acronym super, and S is start with your story, and U is understand your customer story. We won't dive into you today, but I think it's very important, as important for realtors. But do you remember? Okay, so this stuck out to me whenever I read your book, the Dolly Parton quote that's in the book. Do you remember it? It is, do you want to say it or I'll say it? Either way.
Let you say it.
Okay. So Dolly Parton says, figure out what it is you do and then do it on purpose. Did I get it right?
You
Okay.
did.
And one, it's from Dolly Parton, so it's gold automatically. And two, it seems so easy, but figure out what it is you do. Well, I mean, we obviously sell houses, but like you said, in Austin alone, so do 19,000 other people. So what differentiates you? And I think that's where the origin story comes into play. And then do it on purpose, right? Like, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I got here. And it gives you a real sort of path towards what you need to do every day. So it's amazing advice.
That North Star is what you can use as almost a litmus test for everything else in your business. So, what should I put on my socials? What should I put on my website? What should go in my newsletter? What should my out of office be when I'm out at a showing? How should I decorate, the signage for my open house? Like all of the things should be in direct support of exactly what you just said. Like figure out who you are, do it on purpose. What does that look like? Why should someone be your super fan? Why should someone choose you? And when you use that as not just the litmus test, but the North Star, as you said, you get to a point where you can refine and refine and refine and make it difficult for people to say, so what? And that's what you want. You want to get to the point to where it's so clearly distilled. Nobody is saying, so what?
Right, right. And I'll put it this way. If Costco can create super fans, then we certainly can, right? So it's something everybody can do. We just have to really dig and sort of look and then become very intentional. That's another reason I love your philosophy so much is it's very intentional. Nothing is by accident. So tell us what an origin story is and then tell us what we're going to do today before we start bringing on some guests.
So, an origin story is really the story of how you got to where you're at. You could be doing anything in the world. Why are you in real estate? What is it that got you to this place? And how does that create the powers that you have? Like, if you think about superheroes, they have origin stories, right? That speak to what they're great at, what they love, why they're passionate. And they also let you see into them, into their lives. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We've got four brilliant agents who work with you who are going to tell us a little bit about their origin stories. And I'm going to ask some questions, help to get to know them a little bit better and maybe come up with some ideas to make those origin stories even more powerful.
Well, I'm excited, and these four women are awesome, and they all have different backgrounds, so different origin stories. And yeah, they're very excited to present this and then hear your ideas. That said, we can just dive in right now. And Sarah Spacek is going to start with us. So I'll bring Sarah on right now from backstage.
Hi.
Hey, Sarah, great to meet you.
You too, Brittany. This is awesome. This is forcing me to be uncomfortable, which is good in a way.
Well, the great thing about telling your story is the more you do it, the more comfortable you get at it. And you've got to be able to tell your story because we want our customers to be talking about us. We want our clients to be talking about us, thinking about us, referring us. And the more compelling the stories are that you tell, the better job they'll be able to do retelling your story to the people in their network. And I always say, I know a lot of times real estate agents like to say, oh, I've got this many clients in my network or this many contacts in my database. And I always say, I don't care how many clients you have in your database. I care how many clients have you in theirs. How many people still have you in their phone, still have your business card, are still sending people your way 2, 3, 5, 8 years after they worked with you last. So your story is a powerful way. And Sarah, I'm excited to hear yours.
Hopefully. So, will I just start? Okay,
Yeah,
we'll start
go
at the
ahead and pick
beginning. Well, before I did real estate, I was actually in front of the camera for 15 years. I was a TV shopping host, specializing in gemstones and jewelry. And I guess what that taught me was how to explain things in a simple way, how to connect with people, but most importantly, trust me through being genuine. Because if you're on live TV and somebody doesn't trust or believe what you have to say, they're not going to buy anything. I grew up in Edinburgh, Scotland. I lived in London for 15 years. And then 13 years ago, I moved to Austin for a TV job. When I became a first time buyer here, I quickly realized how different it is over here than it is back in Scotland to buy a place. And I was completely totally lost. I didn't have guidance. I didn't have any support. And I didn't know that at the time. I guess, you don't know what you don't know. But I kind of I bring that into my business because I'm making my mission for my clients to feel like completely confident in their decisions, to be informed and to be supported every step of the way. I always say to people, like, you're buying a home, not a sweater. It's a lot harder to return a home if it doesn't fit. So I just want everybody to ask questions all the time and be confident. I like to kind of like just have fun and have a laugh. I inject humor into all the places I probably shouldn't as well. But I don't take lightly like it's my responsibility to guide people in one of the biggest purchases of their life. So I'm a creative problem solver. I'm very calm under pressure. And if like I'll advocate for my clients fiercely. So if my like inner Braveheart needs to come out, like so be it. She's gonna come out. Outside of real estate, I adore animals. I spend my days with 3 horses, 2 dogs, 1 cat. I love sharks. I love traveling. I love gin. I love cocktails. I'm Scottish. At the end of the day, I think for me, I just understand what it means to take a big leap, right? I've moved continents. I've built a life here and I've made Austin home. And I just really want to help people do the same. And then once you've found a place and you've moved in, I'll totally bring the cocktails round.
Love that. But Sarah, how did you get into real estate in Austin? I mean, how did you get out of TV and make that transition? That seems like a big jump.
I've always loved real estate and interior design. And then, buying my first place here really was like, wow, it's very different, but I could do that better. And it's like with anything, like I loved the TV stuff, but, it was a man's world and there was only so far I could get. And I wanted to work for myself. So I was like, what else could I do that I really love? It's too late to be a Formula One driver. So I was like, okay, what else? And so just combining the interior design and my love of people and that kind of stuff, I just got my license and went for it.
Love it. And I love the fact that since you are someone who relocated from very far away to Austin, you know how to serve that particular subset of clients. Are there a certain type of clients that you love to work with? Like if you could wave a magic wand and only work with your dream clients, what's your favorite?
Gosh, that's so difficult to answer. I seem to like get on really well with old people. I've got like the clients here who are now like my surrogate parents. I love first time buyers as well though, because that's where I was once, So I just enjoy meeting a whole range of people. I don't really specialize in one type. Just be a nice person. That's a good thing. Like I can kind of choose who I want to work with.
Let me ask you this. Do you still love gemstones? That's such a specific thing that you got to do on TV. Is that still part of your brand in any way?
Not so much. I mean, sometimes like if somebody has like electrical wires in their backyard, I'll be like, oh, you could get some shungite because, it gets rid of all the EMFs, things like that. But not so much as a brand, I would say.
Well, let me ask you this. How is buying a house like buying a gemstone? Are there things that it takes an expert eye to be aware of because what you see on the outside isn't always indicative of what's on the inside?
Yeah, it's always disclose, disclose, disclose. Because gemstones, some of them have treatment, some of them don't, right? And nobody wants to buy something that you're saying is precious if it's been heat treated, gone through the tumbler 25 times. Same with a house. You want to, I guess, expose what's underneath as much as you can, or just know what you're buying, right?
Yeah. Well, something that I think is so fascinating and memorable and cool about the fact that you had that job that's very specific. A couple of things. Number one, gemstones are it's a very specific thing. Like people, when you say gemstones, whether they see a ruby in their mind or a sapphire or something else, like that's a very visual cue. And it's one that a lot of people probably don't have a person that they associate. And one of the things that we're trying to do with our origin stories is figure out how do we take up actual space in people's minds? How do we have them think of us, not just when they're thinking about buying a house, but other things as well? And if you're passionate about gemstones and it's something that you still like to talk about, I think you could have a really cool story where you lean into that a little bit and you say, you did that after you moved to the States, right? You were on the show here.
I did it before, and that's why I moved here. It was for a transfer.
Yeah. So part of that story to say, I made my career helping people buy precious things, gemstones. And
Mm.
when I moved across the Atlantic for this job, I realized how buying a house is so much more precious than any gemstone you're ever going to own. But there's so many similarities. And that's when you can talk about the cutting and the shaping and the disclosing all of the things, and talk about the fact that you've been trained with an expert eye, not just in the world of gemstones, but as an
Yeah.
interior designer, as somebody who understands this market, as someone who knows Austin now from so many different angles, coming as someone buying a home for the first time and now helping hundreds of families find their place. And I think if you talk about that a little bit, people are gonna be like, "Oh, that's so interesting. I have questions." Like, I bet when you tell people you did that, they all have a question that they ask, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
about like, how much is this ring worth, or like Taylor Swift's new ring, or like what, like there are very, very specific things that people probably think, "Oh, I don't have anyone to go to talk about this thing, to understand this thing." I would lean into that. I would, if I were you, knowing that you love animals. I don't know if you have a closing gift that you do that is, I always love when people are working in real estate and they love animals, to do things geared towards the pet, because there are so many things that are not going to be on the radar, like updating the tags on your pet's collar with the new address, like reminding them that they need to call the vet and update the microchip information, like all of those types of things, to be able to say, I know how precious your dogs are to you. What if they're getting chew toys that look like a gemstone? What if they're getting that like gemstone encrusted collar with a new address?
This is genius. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm right. That's so cool.
But and the other thing that I want you to immediately start doing is, have you seen those little like gemstone digging kits that are super popular with kids right now? Yeah, yeah. Do you have like a billion of those?
No.
Okay, Sarah, go to Walmart. I want you to buy
Mhm.
them. They have some that look like gold bars that cost like $2 each, and your kids get rocks in them. That is such a great activity for any open house, for any, I need to keep this kid
Oh, that's cool.
busy while I'm showing the house to mom and dad. They do get a little bit messy because you're, like putting stuff to melt the plaster. But think about how you can find things like that that tie your story to theirs. Talking about, I don't even know what you said about like some stone I'd never heard of to get rid of like bad electric, like all of
Shanghai.
those things that yeah, that you're like, and this stone does this and this means that, or leaning into people's birthstones, or because you bought a house in this month, we're doing this. I think if like, it is very hard to own in someone's mind the idea of a home. You do that by giving them an amazing experience, by being a great partner, but like their sister, their brother, their uncle, like somebody they know is gonna get their real estate license eventually. We know that, and they're gonna start taking some of those. If they think of you often because they're watching their kid do something with some sort of gemstone, or reading a book, or shopping for the jewelry, and they're thinking of you, that gets you top of mind so often. So I want you to think about all of those parallels. I want you to go to ChatGPT and ask for a million things that you can start to do that are tied to the things that you authentically love, whether that's interior decorating and what that means with those stones, whether it's what you can do with those pets, how it's you can tell your story. And what we want people to say is like, Sarah is a real gem. Like, this is who you need to work with. She's going to take great care of you.
I love it.
I love that. It's so weird because like I always hide that part of me 'cause I'm like, who's gonna be interested in like a gemstone expert? Like I didn't grow up going like, I want to be a gemstone expert. So it's so weird. Like, but when you talk about it, like it makes sense and how I can like tie it in to what I do now. Cause like I know a ton of stuff about it. So why am I not using it?
Do people ever ask you when you talk about gemstones in Scotland, is anybody ever like, I want to talk about Uncle Scrooge and the money pit, the money bin, and no, just me?
No,
No.
no,
I was like, real estate, so,
no.
you're saying
Not
DuckTales
so
is
far.
another place you could go. Eric
What I
knows.
love,
Eric
oh
watched
yeah,
some DuckTales back in the day.
what I was going to mention was what we've jumped forward to a bit, Brittany, is like showering love on your super fans. And, it's all about personalization. And I think that what's the wrong way to do it is that Sarah comes up with like the same standard gemstone slash pet gifting and then just gives the same thing to every single person. But it allows for personalization. So when they have kids, obviously we have these little gold bar things. And when they have cats or dogs, like you're personalizing what it is for each. So, and that shows true care, right? We always say like the level of care expressed by gifting is like we put a $5 Starbucks gift card at a 0, right? And then a 10 is like a hand delivered personalized basket. And that's something that I think you can do here, but you have a framework around it so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time you have a closing. That's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, I love it. This has been amazing. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, Sarah, thank you. And we're
Thanks,
going to
Eric.
go Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and let you go backstage, and then we'll have Rachel on in just a moment. Give me 1 second. Okay. And Brittany, thank you. That was absolutely incredible. I honestly had high expectations, and that exceeded them. Rachel Pulliam is coming on next, and Rachel has a really neat and different story as well. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. And hey, Rachel, how are you?
Rachel, how are you?
Fantastic. Yeah, so I'm not from Scotland and I did not host any TV shows. So my story is very different. Yeah,
Could be.
yeah, as most
One
people's
of
are.
your superpower is that you are completely unique. There's only one Rachel. So let's talk about all of the things that make you amazing and how we can tell that story.
Yeah, so basically my road to real estate started way back when I was like basically in the service industry. So I was a waitress, bartender, front of the house, like all of the things you learn how to like take care of people. My interesting story was I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. So after I went through college. I bartended my way through college. I still was like not sure what my path was. I found an ad that was like, hey, we're looking for a catering sales manager. We're looking for an event planner. And I was like, well, I'm an organizational super nerd. I know everything there is to know about the food and beverage industry. And they also needed a bachelor's degree, which I finally had. So I was like, oh, let me give this a try. And basically fake it till I make it. And like day one, I was just like uh, kind of a rock star. Like they were like, how do you know how to do this already? I'm like, I don't really know. So I was a wedding planner for like 10 years, wedding and event planner. And then I guess the turn of the story is whenever COVID happened, weddings and events just weren't going to happen anymore. And I was on lockdown and didn't know what to do with my life. So I just like wrote down like every single job I could possibly think of. And real estate was one of those jobs that I wrote down. Always been kind of secretly flirting with it, but never really had the guts to like go forward. And then I started to research like the parallels of being an event planner and being a real estate agent. And they all seemed to match the things that I loved, which was A, taking care of people, B, navigating people through expensive and life-changing events like a wedding. I was always really good at like honestly like 17 days before your wedding day, you call your event planner and you freak out. And then my job was to like talk them off. And I was always really, really good at that. So I felt like there was a lot of things that really made a lot of sense. So I basically spent all of COVID just researching what real estate was all about and trying to figure out if that was the right path for me. And once I got into it, I was like, this is what I want to be when I grow up.
I love it.
So, yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, part of my challenge with my story is there's 18 other stories involved in it. So I'm trying to, like, keep it as relevant as possible.
Well, I love that because everybody has that, right? It's hard to figure out what are the things that are going to connect and be most important. One thing that is not super compelling to be client facing, even when it's true, is the pandemic happened and then I needed a new job. Because again, from the outside looking in, nobody's like, I want to find somebody to help me buy or sell a home who got into this when they were unemployed and needed something to do, right? Like and I know that's not what you said, but when people talk about COVID shifted, here's what I'm doing. People hear, okay, this was a backup plan. They haven't been doing it very long. I need someone more experienced who
What,
felt called to do this. So here is something that I really like that you said. Although I have a couple of questions first. When did you move to Austin?
15 years ago?
Okay, and do you own a home? Did you buy a home when you moved to Austin?
No. I I lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I would visit Austin basically every weekend. It was my true passion and my true love. So basically, like, my husband and I sold our home with no prospects of jobs and bought a house in Austin we rented an apartment in Austin because that's where we wanted to live.
Okay, I love that. That is amazing. And that is so compelling. And that will connect with so many people who are moving to the city because they've fallen in love with it or moved to the city because they fell in love with it. So, one of my favorite things that you said, and thank you so much for sharing so much, is that you described yourself as an organizational super nerd. And I love that quote
That's true.
because, Eric, have you ever met somebody who did not want an organizational super nerd to help them with their home? You're like, done. You're like, that's all I need to hear, right?
It's a
Like, you're hired.
superpower in the real estate industry too.
It
Like
is
it's very
100%
opposite of most
superpower.
agents. Yeah.
So I think, Rachel, if you could position your story, and by the way, these are all just suggestions, take them or leave them, and don't ever lean into anything that doesn't feel true and authentic to who you are and what you want to be. I'm just here to offer, sort of outside perspective and an idea. But I think, Rachel, something that would be really great to you might sound like, it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. All I knew was I really wanted to help people. And that's
Right.
why I was drawn to service careers. That's why I loved being a bartender. I loved being a server. And as I was getting my degree, I was asking myself, what can I do where I can really help people? And it wasn't until once I was filling out a job description and I was asked to list my strengths. And I said, I think my strength is that I'm an organizational super nerd, that I began to see those two worlds collide. My Venn diagram was I want to help people and I want to use the superpower of organization to help them with complex and confusing things. And that's how I became an event planner. That's how I became road tested by helping people with weddings and other huge events where there were a million moving parts and 6-figure budgets often and just so much stress and anxiety. However, the timeline works to talk about like being in Austin or people in Austin or whatever, but like you're in Austin, so like you'll figure out and workshop all that part. But to say a thing I kept hearing from particularly my wedding clients was, I wish I had someone as organized as you to help me with my move, to help me sell my home, to help me find a place. Because just like planning an event for hundreds of people with a huge budget and dozens of vendors takes organization, so does the most important decision you're going to make for the biggest purchase in your life. And so after hearing again and again and again that people wish they had someone like me, I thought, why not me? I love helping people. And I love this community. In fact, my husband and I loved Austin so much that we said, you know what, we're going to move here without any plan. 10 years ago, we quit our jobs and said, we're going to figure it out. And so the fact now that I get to use my superpower in the greatest city and in the entire world to help people find homes that they fall in love with and to simplify the complexities for them brings me so much joy and gives me so much energy because I got you. Like when you work with me, you've got someone that is not going to be frazzled, that is not, like you can make some sort of jokes about like, some of the bridezillas that I've managed or like whatever you're doing. But what I think would be really cool in your story is I love Austin. I have such a passion for it. I knew I had to find a career where I could marry these two things that I love that God has given me an ability for, which is to help people and to use my like love of spreadsheets and details and process and talk about the fact that you get to do it in the greatest city in the world. And if I were you, some of the things that I would do to like help perpetuate that message of like how organizational you are, how much you like got it. Think about all the things that people need and create those. Like go use AI to have like the checklist for like the packing of the rooms and how to manage the kid big emotions around the moves. And before you decide the neighborhood you're gonna move to, like here are the things, or before you show your house, do these things. Like there's a bazillion lists and things like that that if you put together as like Rachel pulled it together, or I know that's like sort of a dumb.
Oh my God, writing that down. I know it's recorded, but writing that
like
down.
that, right? Like Rachel's already done it. Like that. Like I got you. Like everybody needs an organizational super nerd in their corner because then they get to focus on the other stuff. So the things that you can get ahead of to be like, bam, bam, bam. I got this. I got this. I got this. I got this. It's like Rachel's got me. Because again, then people are going to be like, what else does Rachel got me for after that move where it's like, oh, you need to know what to do with those flowers. I got you. You need the people to come like put new park carpets, paint, whatever. Like I got you. You are that organizational super nerd in the same way that you are organizing details and vendors and all of the bazillion things in your past life. you're doing it now on steroids.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite stories that I like to add is my husband got me a label maker for our anniversary one year, and it's my favorite gift he's ever given.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is such a great anecdote. Yes, anecdotes like that like help bring it to because again, and you know what? You should buy label makers for your clients. Like anybody who reacts to that, why not deliver label makers to people before their moves and go over and be like, "Do you want me to help you? I
Yes.
love to pack a
I
box. Like
do.
this
I
is how
do. I
the
love to pack
label.
a box.
This
One
is
of my favorite jokes is to label the label maker. So you create label maker and put it on the side of the label maker. I think it's amazing.
that would be so
I
fun. Jennifer's label maker, like for the client. Like what a cool thing to do. Yes.
my label maker is currently in a box labeled labels.
I mean, that's a great first line of a bio. My
Yeah.
label maker is currently labeled in a box labeled
Yeah.
labels.
I have a problem.
No, you don't.
No,
You have a superpower.
it's
You have a
amazing.
superpower. Can you like
Yeah.
come over and organize my whole life?
Oh my God, please give me the opportunity to do so. It'd be so much fun.
How does any of that feel, Rachel? Does that
I
feel
know,
like
it feels really great because my challenge with my story has always been like the downer of COVID that led
nobody
me
needs that
to
detail?
ultimately where I want to be when I grow up and what I love to do. I'm like, how can I make that not so sad and just like keep it positive all the way through? So that,
Yeah.
yeah, makes 100% sense.
Well, and it's not even that it's not negative because there's nothing wrong with negative emotions in storytelling for everybody listening to this. There's absolutely nothing wrong if a true catalyst was the death of someone close to you or a terrible foreclosure or like whatever. Like I don't want people to shy away from negative emotions. The problem with COVID is kind of like I was saying before, like there are some words where it's like boom, like if I say banana or bicycle, we're all like kind of thinking about the same thing. When you
Right.
say COVID, there's like so much baggage in that word and it means so many different things to so many different people. And especially like when it's like, oh, COVID, real estate, essential workers, like just like don't it's irrelevant information. It doesn't need to be there. You are
Yeah.
an event planner. You were told again and again and again by people how they wish they could work with you a million more times because of what you did for their wedding. Now you found a way to serve people in even bigger decisions and to work with clients again and again. If you have worked with any of your wedding clients who you helped them buy or sell a home, any testimonials from them about that to pull through the through line would be cool. Not like 100% necessary, but would be great to sort of add credence to that claim of like, yeah, people were saying, oh my gosh, I wish I had someone like you to help me do this thing. And you made that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of my kind of like pseudo taglines is I helped you get married. Now let me help you buy a house.
Yes.
I will
Let's
not
find
help
that
you, but
threshold
have a
for him to
baby.
carry you across or whatever the, language is.
Yeah. No, I love it. That makes a whole lot of sense. I really, really appreciate it.
I would love to hear the revised story after you've sat on it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be video, it could be written, whatever. If you're comfortable with it, we can obviously share it with Brittany. If you're comfortable with it, we could share it with the audience. But I think this is amazing. Brittany, no, don't know why would be surprised at all, but you knocked it out of the park for 2 for 2.
Eric's like, what? You're 2 for 2? Shocking.
No, I mean,
No, thank you
it's
guys.
like I said, it's when you're going down this path, I'm like, man, where's she going? And then all of a sudden you just like land it and nail it. It's
Nailed it.
amazing. You have a true
Nailed
gift.
it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's something that I've been struggling with for a really long time, and I'm just done now. I'm ready to completely revise it. I'm going to make 18 lists and label them all.
Of course you are, because Rachel always pulls it together.
Yeah. Rachel
Oh my
pulls it
gosh.
together. All
Well,
right.
Rachel,
Thank you so much.
thank you for sharing. It's personal
Yeah.
and you're sharing with a wide audience. So thank you very much. I'll talk to you after the show. And obviously, we can't wait to hear what the revised story.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Brittany. Big fan. Super fan.
Yay. Same. Thanks, Rachel.
Awesome. I mean, again, nailed it. Thank you so much. Anything surprising in there for you at all? Or, I mean, it's unique, right? You don't see a lot of people who their superpower is organization.
Yeah, I love that. And I think if you're somebody like that who maybe has one of those unique abilities, you may not see it as your superpower, just like Rachel didn't, right? Like she used nerd, but that is such a gift. And especially to people who don't have that gift.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. I mean, you identified it like straight away. And I mean, I can tell that, Rachel greatly appreciates it. We're going to have Cherry Amato on next, another amazing woman with a really unique story. So I'm going to go ahead and get Cherry in from backstage. Hi, Terry. How are you?
Great. I'm great. Hi, Brittany.
Hey, Terry. It's so great to see you.
You too. So, I'm not great at organization and I'm definitely not from Scotland, but I'm super excited to chat with you today.
Awesome. No, I love that you're not either of those things because I sometimes make the joke that finding a real estate agent is like looking at a Where's Waldo picture.
Yeah.
And you're like, there are so many of them. It is a sea of sameness. What do I do? And the point is to stand out. And so, absolutely, you're going to have different superpowers than your colleagues. And that's the whole point. So, I'm excited to learn about you and to hear your story, Cherry.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to share a snapshot with you. Brittany, I'm a native Texan and I grew up living what I call the apartment life. We would move from one complex to another and many times facing eviction. My mother was a single parent. She worked really hard so that my brother and I could stay in the same schools and hopefully have some stability and have this sense of belonging. We did own one house in my childhood, and I remember that house specifically. I love that house. We eventually lost that house. And looking back now, and even as a kid at some point, I figured out that it was actually a foreclosure and the bank had taken the home. From a really early age, really young, I almost like had this quiet conversation with myself and I made a commitment that I was going to live my life differently. I didn't want to live and grow up the same way what I saw around me, my surroundings. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I was determined that my future was going to look different. So instead of staying stuck in this like sadness or this anger of my situation, I think I channeled that energy and I was very intentional. I worked really hard. I was motivated to create something positive in my life, right? Jump ahead to 1993. I was the first in my family to graduate from college. And it was definitely a full circle moment for me. And I think it just made so much sense that the career path I chose was education because then I was in the classroom. I was honing my craft of writing and love of literature, but I was also pouring into students and helping them with that same motivation and that drive to be something more and to do something different. And then in 1998, my husband and we bought our first home. It's the first house that I had lived in since I was a child. And for a first time home buyer, you think, this is my only house. I'm never going to move. I don't need anything else. This is all the space I need. So my thinking was we'd be there forever. Well, opportunity knocked and we opened the door and we went through. We had the chance to live overseas in some really unique places. We lived in India and Singapore and Australia. And, I'm the kid that I grew up in an apartment. I never traveled. I didn't leave the state of Texas. And having a passport was like mind blowing, right? From that experience, I had this like new sense, right? It was almost like this global perspective that I could have never gotten had I not had the opportunity to go and see places. And when I look back, I realized that what I walked away from that was this deep appreciation and a deep respect for all people and how they live and how families spend time together and how important home is and community and culture. And I think that I brought that sense of awareness back to the States. And, today I'm a 20-year Austinite. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a homeowner. I'm an investor. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a broker associate with Bramlett Partners. I'm a lifelong educator. And I find that I'm still in the classroom because I'm in the classroom with my clients. And I've learned that my superpower, I think, is the ability to love on people. Like I have a strong sense of caring and compassion for people. And I think I do it at a high level. I'm after taking care of all my clients, meeting them where they are. I know that everybody has a different story. And just because we're in one place in one moment doesn't mean that we can't go and do something else. And so I feel like from connecting the dots of my past to where I am today, I'm a better person. So thank you.
Oh my gosh,
Can
Cherry,
attest, Cherry is an amazing,
Oh,
amazing
well.
human being. Yeah.
so good, so good. Do you, based on your upbringing, have, as I may suspect, a soft spot in your heart for helping single parents, single moms, people maybe with bad credit or past foreclosure? How does that come into play for you?
Honestly, so you know how some agents will say, I'm a neighborhood specialist? I can't tell you that I'm a neighborhood specialist. I feel like I'm a people specialist. I go where my clients need me, and they need me in lots of different places. Sometimes it's a first time home buyer. Sometimes it's a person working to literally get out of renting, right? Sometimes it's a luxury client. I mean, I have clients at all different price points, and I just try really hard to listen to their story and see where I can be the best to help to them.
So, may I offer
Yes.
back exactly what you said, but kinda condensing it. And again, some of the when I'm filling in blanks, and this goes for anybody listening, when I'm filling in blanks, it's not to say, "Here's what you should say." It's like, I don't have that information, so I'm sort of, like, making it up. And then, obviously, everything you say needs to be, like, true and authentic. But something like, as a child, I lived almost exclusively in apartments, dozens of apartments. And I remember riding the school bus, looking at those single family homes thinking, "What would it be like to live in a house?" And then when I was 9 years old, I found out. My mom, my single mother who worked so hard to support me and my siblings, got a home for us, and it was magical. I'll never forget that feeling of having that front door, having that room until we lost it. And even though I was only a 4th grader at the time, I sort of understood. And then it was back to apartment life, and I lived in a dozen more apartments before, at the age of 18, I became the first person in my family to go to college. And as I was studying education and thinking about what I was gonna do, I knew one thing for sure, and that was I was gonna find a house. I was gonna have that grounding, that sense of a home that I longed for so much as a child. That's what set me out on this path to do real estate, because I understand not just what it means emotionally, what it means for a family to have that literal home base, but how important it is for building wealth, generational wealth. Buying a home isn't just about finding a place to make your memories and raise your family. It's about giving everyone after you a better life, because you're investing your money in something that's going to last. I'll never forget when my husband and I bought our first home right here in Austin, how much we loved it, what it meant to us. And even though since we've had the privilege to be able to live all around the world in countries that I don't even know if I could have found on a globe as a kid growing up in Texas, my heart kept pulling me back here to this state that I love so much, to these people that I want to help. And my promise to you is, regardless of your situation, I will do everything in my power to find a home for you and your family, because that is what you and your family deserve.
Wow.
That is why I do this.
Wow. You're awesome.
How does that feel? Does that
I love
land?
it. And it's concise, it has passion. The other piece that you brought in that I feel like I know I was missing, like, I need to talk more about real estate and how I work now. And I feel like you just did that. And that was one of the things I was going to ask for.
I mean, to talk about, and especially the reason I was kind of asking about the types of clients you love to serve, if you, as I suspect that you are, and I think you said you've done some investing and some selling and some things like that, to be able to talk about it. I mean, you could even say, and by the way, your origin story is not something that you guys need to like memorize verbatim. This is something that you can put in a video. This is something that you're going to pull out parts for your bio. It's going to be on your social. You're going to remember some of these things that you can pull out and tell. So this is not like I'm in an elevator and I'm going to say all this. It's when someone gives your name to a friend and they look you up, what are they going to see? Like, what is that first impression that you're making digitally? That's why some of these things, for anybody that's like, oh, you would never like say all of those things. Maybe not one to one, but one to many. When you're putting it on social, when you're writing it in your bio, you absolutely can. And a connection that I think you can make in that story, and then that becomes a smaller story that you would tease out and tell and share, is to talk about if it's true and if it's authentic, because I never want to suggest anything that feels manufactured. But I mean, you went through something so profound as a child to watch a parent lose a home. What does it feel like to you now as an adult to be able to invest in multiple homes that you can buy and sell, to know the security for your children and their children because of that? And I think when you can connect that dot, it does a couple of things. Number one, it like pulls on the heartstrings a little bit. Number two, it puts anybody who's ever felt less than or insecure about their past circumstances or where they find themselves now instantly at ease. But it also establishes your credibility for somebody from a different background reality who's like, I grew up with generational wealth and now I'm trying to make more of it. You're sort of like throwing in that humble brag of like, oh yeah, and now I've like, started from the bottom, now we're here, right? Like you
Yes.
understand
Yes.
the investing, you understand that side. And so being able to sort of like tie a bow, like wrap up with the bow on it, but like bring in some of those other elements.
Okay. And then I have one more question for you if we have time.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like this origin story shows that I'm like fun. Like I really am a fun person. And I like lean heavy into the cherry. Like I have a great name,
I was
right?
going to ask about the name. Oh my gosh.
That's
Yes. Okay. You should totally lean into the name. If you lean into that is great. All of the things, that you're probably already doing and more, whether it's like, the actual images of the cherries or real cherries, cherry flavored, cherry chapstick, like all the things, right?
She uses emojis really well with her sign off on text messages. Always has a cherry at the end of the text message. It's great.
Amazing.
It's super
I love
cute.
that.
I
Yeah.
do.
Whatever
I
your
lean into the
favorite
cherry. I
10
love cherry.
cherry.
My mother was a candy,
That's
right?
awesome.
Like,
So cool.
yeah.
So
So
cool. The wall behind you, I'm sure that was intentional. Yeah, you should do all of that. You should do all that because again, cherry, like what a great visual. Like you have an emoji. Like everybody wants an emoji. You have an emoji. There's no foam finger emoji. I've been trying.
okay.
I think it's
Thank
wonderful, Terry. Yeah.
all right.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And also, I would love to hear your origin story whenever you've thought about it some more and what you've landed on. But it was already amazing, and I'm sure that just be blown away with the revision. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank y'all
The
so
things you
much.
wanted to do. If you ever wanted to plant a cherry tree, but you couldn't because you moved it all the time, and now you give people cherry trees or cherry pies or like any of it, all the things. But yeah,
I love all of that.
happy to keep the conversation going. But I know that we've got one more amazing participant that we want to get to. So let's hear from that, and then Cherry, you and I can circle back and talk about all the fun emoji and flavor and
Thank you.
stuff we can
Thank
do.
you, Terry.
Last
That was
but not
running.
least,
She's amazing, right?
oh my gosh, so
Yeah.
so incredible.
The quote that kept running through my mind while you guys were talking is the Teddy Roosevelt quote that people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And obviously Cherry's story, it just exudes care, right? You know that she
Oh my
cares
gosh.
so deeply.
So
And then the
deeply.
second half of it where you're talking about, oh, now she's done this for herself. Well, that instills confidence. Like, yes, she absolutely knows, knows her stuff. Like she's done it for herself.
Yeah, for everybody listening to this, people want to know, are you good at your job? Am I going to enjoy hanging out with you? And like, that's it, right? Like, are you good at your job? And like, is this going to be a good experience? Like, is it going to be fun? And so like, and then like, are they going to forget about you in 30 seconds? And, you want them not to, and you want them to choose you. And we know, but I mean, it's like, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but there's a huge discrepancy in the number of people who, say in all the NAR surveys, like, oh, I would absolutely work with my realtor again. And then they don't. Or they say,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to recommend my real estate agent to a friend, but they don't. Like a huge drop off, like double digit drop offs. It's because people forget.
They do. And later in the book, when you talk about systemizing this stuff, I mean, it's everything in the book is so important. You have to nail it all, but it all has to start with the story. Otherwise, you'll never create the super fans. But yeah, the stat is something like, I think like 85% of consumers say that they would love, I might be getting this wrong, say that they would work with their agent again. Then I think something like 20% do. So that's where the big disconnect
It's a huge
is.
discrepancy. And somebody said, and I promise we're going to get to the last one, but I think this is important. And it was actually a real estate agent who said it to me the other day when we were talking about some of the things, some of the systems. And she said, repetition is boring. And I said, no, repetition is branding.
Right.
And if you don't feel it, like if you can't be consistent, if you're not doing this, like you're not a brand, you're a commodity provider.
We printed off, literally, they were shipped in yesterday. I have a sticker on my computer that says, I love boring real estate, because it's the boring stuff that actually works. And I do love the exciting stuff. I do love this. I do love talking about how we can shower those we love with love, things like that. But that's exciting and easy. And it's the boring stuff that moves the needle. It's the boring stuff that allows you to bring back these clients, and that you have to get this right as well. So another plug for the book, like obviously start with your story, but there's a lot more to this that everybody wants to learn.
Creating Superfans, available everywhere books are sold. And please,
Or
if
just,
you've read the book and love the book, leave an Amazon review. They're
you-
so helpful.
if
I
you're
always
a,
joke and say, if you read the book and didn't love it, leave a review and lie. That I don't mean. But whether you love it or not, please leave an Amazon review. They are so helpful.
I don't know how many copies of this book I bought for people. And I don't know. I think when I talk about it, I'm always like, hey, if you promise you'll read it and talk with me about it later, then I'll just send it to you. And if you look at my Audible gift history, it's like 3 pages of superfans. But yeah, it's a blueprint, and I love it. It's amazing. And it's really relevant because we're so used to talking about how do you work in real estate and apply these ideas only with real estate as examples. And you use cross industry, right? Like Taylor Swift. It's what was a Chewy, right? The pet website. We'll need to do another one of these so that we can jam and talk about more of the book. The last agent we're having on to talk about her origin story is Patti Chesney. Another
Hey, Patty.
amazing and another amazing woman with yet another, what do you know, unique story that's also very, very compelling. So I'm going to let Patti on right now. Hey, Patti, how are you?
Hey, Eric. Hey, Brittany.
Hi,
So
it's
good
so good to meet
to
you,
meet you.
Patti.
Likewise. So my origin story is real estate is the third career for me. So when I got out of college, I graduated with a civil engineering degree and worked in land development in Austin in the early 80s when a lot of the new subdivisions were going in and a lot of the flood control measures that came about after our great Memorial Day flood. And so that was my career before I had kids. And then I stayed home for a while. And then I just wanted to have their same schedule. And I loved problem solving. And that's really kind of what got me into engineering was that I loved problem solving. So I became a math teacher for most
Oh,
of the time that my kids were at home. And then I went on and I taught adults and I did professional development and I really liked working with adults. I liked kids too, but I just, got more experience working with older people. And so I now have 6 grandkids, but at the time that I was kind of thinking what am I going to do next? I don't really believe in retirement. I just always want to be giving and contributing. And so I'd always worked and I couldn't imagine um, just not doing anything. And so, because of my early interest in land development and real estate as a civil engineer, and then teaching, um, real estate was just this perfect combination of my former career. And so I got into it. And as I was transitioning from the classroom to real estate, I thought, I have been teaching my kids the art of problem solving in the classroom. And now I have the opportunity to teach adults the problem solving if they come and they have a problem that they've outgrown their house or, it's not close enough to where they want to be. So one of the things I did in the classroom was I had a pentagon that was a visual representation of what it means to be a problem solver. So I took that approach and I thought, well, what is my problem solving approach to buying a house or, to helping people with this hard transaction? And so I think about the 5 parts, like the relationships are the core. That's the foundation. And then knowledge, I have knowledge of Austin and buildings and just my knowledge is one part of it. And then I have systems, which I think Bramlett Partners does an amazing job of providing me with the systems that I have a great search tool. And so I use those systems to guide my clients to make good decisions. And then the upper 2 parts are mindset and communication. And when I was doing professional development as an educator, I stumbled upon the book by Carol Dweck, Mindset. And he talks about having a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. So that was one of the big things that I promoted when I was doing professional development and even in the classroom. So like my friends now will send me things about having a growth mindset, or like a friend that I hadn't seen in a while said, I saw this sticker, it says do hard things. And I thought of you. So I've got that on my computer. And that's actually one of the reasons why I told Eric I wanted to do this, because I really believe in getting out of your comfort zone to try new things. And then as far as the communication, I really want to anticipate what my clients' needs are. And so my goal is to communicate to them before they have a question, like anticipate what are the next steps. Okay, we're having an inspection. Let's talk about how are we going to anticipate drawing up, an amendment because of what we're going to see. So I try to always have really good communication. And also, I think the whole idea of buying a house or selling a house is sometimes so overwhelming to people that I try to break the task down to smaller bite-sized pieces so that
yeah.
what might look
We're
like a
solving for one variable at a time, and that's how we're going to
exactly,
solve the equation.
exactly,
So, Patty,
exactly.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I am so excited that I have to talk because this is so fun and exciting. And as you're giving me more and more and more, what sometimes people can do is like accidentally dilute the effectiveness of something they have in front of them. So, talking about the pentagram with the 5 things and the communication and the mindset and the this and the that, maybe that That is like college level equations, and we need like pre-algebra algebra, right? And so here's what I love for you. I love for you that your positioning is, Patti, you have never met a problem that you didn't obsess over solving. That's what led you to be an engineer. That's what led you to, after years of being an engineer, say, I want to teach other people how to have the same love for analytical problem solving in the classroom. And now what you put to work every single day out in the field. And I want you to lean into the math puns. Like, I read your bio while you were talking on the Bramlett website. I looked at your socials. Why are you not saying things like, need more space? Let's multiply your options. Or, looking for the perfect fit? I've got the formula. Or subtract your stress, add your square footage. Like, there are a billion of them, right? Like a bazillion things that you can do. You're my number one client. I'll never divide my attention. Like,
I
a
love it.
bazillion of them, right? Like, I want
Yeah.
you to lean into, it is hard, it is complex to buy a house. You have somebody who not only understands how to solve this problem, but is a literal engineer who's thinking structurally about things that they aren't. You're seeing the variables beneath the surface. Like, they're thinking in 2 dimensions, you're looking at it in 3 dimensions. You can talk about all the shit we all forgot what it means, like parabolas and, like, I don't know, whatever all the other parts. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
you got the X and the Y on lock. And I think, lean into that. Lean into the fact that you're a teacher. Lean into the fact that every single person, when they're looking at a house, like, needs a tape measure, needs a ruler, needs a straight edge, needs these things. Like, I love for you the positioning of, like, there is not a problem that we can't solve together. And I am here not just as your teacher, but as your guide, as somebody with an engineer's eye who's going to be thinking about the things you're not thinking about, solving these problems so you don't have to. Like, think about all the things you talk about, like solving the problems before they ever see them, because, like, that's your job, but also because you're gonna be right there with them to do that, and go all in on that. If you love math, which
Yeah,
I suspect you
I
do.
do.
If
Yeah.
that sounds great. But I mean, think about, like, as you can talk about, interest rates. There's so much math involved in buying a house, like what it means with the loans, what it means for your budget, what it means for, like, the bazillion things that go into it. Like, own math. Be that person. Like,
Mhm.
you could, like, do a whole thing where you're like, is it stressful keeping up with your kids' math homework as you're moving? Don't worry, I got you. It's like tutoring Thursdays with Miss Patty, or, who's whatever. Like, there's so much fun stuff that you can do. And I think
Mhm.
you've got a couple of things going for you. Got a lot going for you. Obviously, you're an amazing person. But when people hear the word engineer, what do they think? Smart, able to, like, analyze things. When people hear the word teacher, what do they think? Trustworthy, not in it for the money, doing it because they love it and want to make things better. Like, that is such a great, like, Venn diagram of, they're like, okay, you're obviously smart and analytical. You're obviously also not motivated by money. So many people are like, I don't want to work with a real estate agent who's doing this because they think they can make 3% on a transaction and kind of suck and still get paid the same as somebody who's awesome, right? Like, that's the quiet part a lot of people don't say out loud about, like, their cousin's boyfriend's roommate who just got certified and is trying to, like, get their listing. So
Right.
the fact that you have credibility as an engineer, as a teacher, now you're doing this because it brings together the things that you love, and you can have a little bit of fun with it, be a little cheeky with some of those things, like the
That
puns
yeah.
and stuff that you're saying. Like, to me, that is a home run for you. To me,
Yeah. I love that. No, I love
X
that.
equals Patty. I don't know. I'm not great at math. I'm not gonna lie. When I did my, what is it that you have to do to get into graduate school? Is it a GRE? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
the test is. I got a
Yeah.
perfect score on my writing. I was like 90 something percentile on the verbal. I got a 32% in the math, Patty. And I wrote a letter to the college and I was like, look, I understand that usually you do not admit people below this. My average was enough. And I was like, I'm not trying to get an MBA. I'm going to just get a master's in marketing. I'm not going to have to do complicated math for my job in the music industry. Please consider me, even
Yes.
though my math so low. Like, I'm applying
Yeah.
on a whim. I wasn't planning on
Yeah.
grad school.
Yeah.
I
Well, the
cried in
language arts.
for college statistics. People like me need people like you, especially when it comes to complicated, expensive decisions like buying and selling homes.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, does that feel good?
Yeah, it sounds great.
And
I'm gonna
obviously,
have fun with it.
yeah, don't give up on everything that you were saying past, like all of the stuff that like that is all fantastic once you've established a relationship. But you never want to try to confuse people about what your brand is or what you're all about until they know you. Once they know
Yeah,
you already, you can be everything. But until then,
yeah.
pick one thing, try to own it in their mind, be so good at it so that when people are like,
Mhm,
you're gonna love Patti. Not only is she amazing, she's got an analytical mind like an engineer, but she knows how to explain it because she was a teacher. Like that's your
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you
I
so
love
much
it.
for sharing, Patty. And I'm excited
Sure.
to hear your story after you've thought
Yeah,
about it.
I'm excited to play with it some. Thank you so much, Brittany.
Thank you, Patty. So great to see you.
You too.
Doing this, I'm sitting here going, how do you do? I mean, you can't clone you is the problem, right? And whenever people are telling these stories, I don't know how you could teach anybody how to do this. It's amazing. It's a huge value add. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for inviting me to do this and for being so awesome and then letting me meet some of your incredible teammates.
Well, they're great. They're great. And I wanted to talk for just a minute, not too long, but okay, there's more to this. And then we're going to talk about how folks can find obviously your book and other resources that they can leverage for themselves. Okay, these origin stories are awesome. And if somebody doesn't have you, how do they work on their own? What do they do at home for all the listeners out there?
Well, a great place to start is to read the book Creating Superfans. And I would say it's available wherever books are sold, but apparently they can also just ask Eric for a copy because Eric loves gifting them. I heard you say. Uh, I also have something that I put together to try to systemize what I'm doing, to think about the questions, to look for those connections, to pull it out. I have a program called the 6 Weeks to Superfans Masterclass, and it's a series of 13 or 14 short videos. There's actually one specific for real estate agents of how to do this. And the first pillar of my supermodel, as you mentioned, is all about starting with your story. And the first part of the video series is about finding your own origin story, building what I call a story set list. There's a series of questions that I ask people to think about, to identify some of those stories, to pull them out, to help bring them to the surface, and then make those connections of, a customer cares about this, not this, or I'm able to position myself this way, not that way. And that's the lens we always want to look at it through. As I said before, super fans are created at the intersection of your story and every customer story. I was leaning into things that customers could see themselves in and shying away from things that were like more abstract, right? Like the idea of like communication, like not super concrete. COVID, like not something that means the same thing to everybody. So trying to find those things of like the cherry emoji
Yes.
is the same on everyone's phone. Maybe a little different, I guess, if you have Android or Apple, but like, you get the idea. You're not going to see the cherry and, think about
So
I don't
they
know what.
so the masterclass is a very, very accessible resource out there. And then
It is.
so I know you're a great writer. What was your undergrad? Were you in English or marketing, or what did you do in undergrad?
So my concentration was PR, and then I had a minor in marketing that I ended up getting just because I took one class with one professor. His name was Dr. Scott Markham, and I adored him. He was this man who was an adjunct professor and a business leader. And I said, I'm going to take every class you offer. And then I ended up with a minor in marketing because I took like 7 courses with Dr. Markham over a series of a few years. And so then my master's degree was in marketing.
But you've obviously written a lot. I mean, you've written a book, and then PR also. You're coming up with pitches, and so I've been my bachelor's is in English, and so people are usually surprised. But one of the first things they teach you is write, and it doesn't really matter if a lot of it's not very good, and then you just start editing down. And so I would love to hear if you think this is good advice, but I think somebody who doesn't really know where to start should just start writing or talking if they want to, if they don't like to write. And then where you have to get outside of your comfort zone is then you have to share it with folks and you have to like get feedback. How does this, real talk, how does this sound to you? And I think that somebody who's out there that doesn't have a Brittany Hodak they can give a call to, I think that's another resource that they could use.
Yeah, well, that's a great idea. You can check out the masterclass at 6weekstosuperfans.com. There's a real estate bonus module that doesn't cost any extra for people who just want the real estate one. A couple of things that I would add to the great advice that you just gave. One is, do you have the Chat GPT app on your phone? And if so, do you talk to it? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
it's so funny. Both of my kids are obsessed. Like they're like, Mom, I just want to talk to Chat GPT. And they have these hilarious conversations. But when you turn voice mode on, you can practice telling your story to ChatGPT and ask to get it back to you more succinctly, or ask what's interesting, what's fascinating. And that's a way that you get what feels like human feedback, but it's very low stakes because you're not having to do it with somebody else. So if you're somebody who says, "Oh, I don't want to have a conversation with somebody else," like practice with AI, and it will help you refine things. It will help make some of those connections to get more comfortable practicing with people. The other thing that I would say is if you truly are like, "I took this job because I thought I would be good at it and would make money, and it was a backup plan." Like if you're truly like, "I don't know what to say," ask some of your clients, "Hey, what do you like if a friend were to ask you about me, what would you say?" And start not, don't like call them up and be weird about it, but like have the casual conversations with them. You will learn so much, you will glean so much information. And when you start to see patterns, when you start to hear the things again and again, like that's when you're onto something. Those are the things that people are like coming to you for.
So I'm a big fan of ChatGPT and AI in general as it augments, right? Like I don't think it replaces by any means. And I think that the final step of this process in general is to start getting real human feedback. But it would be interesting if you're open to it. I'd love to, maybe we can iterate on email a prompt that somebody could start with before they start chatting with GPT, because if you can prompt it and tell it what they're doing, GPT will do a great job of helping them kind of wade through like, hey, COVID has negative connotation or whatnot. Last thing I'll say, I'm a huge fan of it, and I go out and walk, and I just throw my AirPods in,
So
and my
simple.
wife always jokes, just like your best friend ChatGPT, and it's honestly because ChatGPT will listen to me as long as I want to talk, and nobody else will. So that works out
I
well. But
love that.
walking
And
and
I
talking
would
is
say
great.
for a prompt, maybe start with written,
Yeah.
and be intentional. And yes, we can ideate on it, but just for those of you curious about it who want to try it right now, just be honest. Like start with the written prompt. Say, I am a real estate agent in Austin. It's a crowded market. I want to stand out. I want to have a point of differentiation that not only existing clients will remember, but prospective clients will choose me. Here are some of the things that about me that I think could be important. What do you think? What, like, give me a 3 paragraph bio that has elements of an origin story that help me stand out in the sea of sameness that is Austin real estate agents, and
What's
see what they
what's great about it too, so it doesn't always get it right. And the good news is that I don't think it has feelings. So like if you, I mean, I'm not mean to it ever, but if you say like, hey, that's not where I was after, usually you iterate a bit and you can get to where you need to be with it. So I can nerd out about GPT for an hour, so we won't
Yes.
do that.
Okay, well, I'll have to come back. You said I can
Yeah.
come back soon, so we'll talk all about the best ways to use whatever your favorite AI tool is, whether it's ChatGPT or another LLM or tool, all the ways that you should be using it to grow your practice.
Yeah, and I need a trip to Nashville as well. One of my best friends lives there, and we need to take our families up there. So when you come to Austin, make sure and let me know, and I'll make sure we're around. And then when I go to Nashville, we'll do the same. And I'm really like to figure out. I'm pushing a lot of people to bring you on as a speaker. Tell us, like, okay, so where are you speaking? How can people find you? How can people contact you for speaking engagements? All that good stuff.
Thank you. You're very kind to ask. So people can find all of the information at brittanyhodak.com. I'm speaking all over the place to answer your question. I think I have 8 or 9 more events in September and then like 8 in
Congratulations.
October. So I will be around. I'm going to be in Texas like 5 times, but I don't think Austin, but I'll be in San Antonio, Dallas, South Padre, lots of places near issue.
It's
Maybe
phenomenal. I'm so happy for you for your success. I mean, you deserve every bit of it. What we'll do, okay, so what we'll do for anybody watching right now, we have an email that'll go out that'll have all of these resources for you. This will be on all the podcasting platforms, and we'll make sure and put in the description how they can find you, the masterclass, and your website. Any last words? I can't thank you enough for coming here and offering all of this amazing advice.
Thank you for having me. I think the last words is, one of the objections that I hear sometimes from people is I don't feel like I want to tell my story, or I don't think I should have to. And what I always say is if you don't tell your story, prospects are going to find someone else. Like that is the reality. And they may find someone who's going to care less, do a worse job, is less invested. So sharing your story is not selfish or self-centered. It is literally the most selfless thing you can do, because what you're doing is putting up that beacon to give somebody the directions to choose you, and you owe it to those prospects who need you. Don't let them fall into the lap of somebody else who's less qualified or cares less because they did a better job of sharing their story than you're doing of sharing yours.
You don't ever want to be Austin's best kept secret or anybody's best kept secret, right? You
Right.
have to broadcast that. So thank you. Amazing, amazing final thoughts. Thank you everybody for joining, and we'll have this out soon.